we're not guaranteed tomorrow, we're guaranteed today. Whisper in your ear, say, you know what, you mean the world to me. Sometimes I write a note, I'll tell her how much she means to me. And or a text that same day, I'll say, I love you. And she texts me back, I love you more constantly. She always has to add on more than what it's like, you're not satisfied with I love you too? I love you more. I'm like, okay.
Welcome to another episode of The Love Department. This is your Chief Love Officer speaking and your host, Nick Lockhart. I'm a former matchmaker, a writer, and a romantic. I'm so grateful that you're here. Today, we have another fantastic episode for you. I spent some time with Solanchi and Jose over the years, and I've always been impressed with their radical honesty and love for each other. They've been married for 37 years, have 3 kids and 6 grandkids, but you'll soon hear that the spark between them is just as strong as when they met. In this episode, we discuss wedding day mishaps, the timeline of a quick courtship, dating with kids and blending families. Oh, and we talk about sex, baby. You're really in for a treat with this one. When I spoke to them, they were vacationing in the Dominican Republic, spending time close to family, and oh so relaxed. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Ah, the nightclub. An unlikely place to meet your true love, but Solanchi and Jose are proof that it doesn't matter how you start. Love will always have the final say. For Jose, it was love at first sight, but Solanchi wasn't impressed by this handsome suitor who worked at the club.
What happened was I was running the club at the Copacabana, and I had a police officer working in the front door, and it was Thursday night, $5 with the draft beer you can drink. All the college kids were invited, and she came in with a friend, and the person at the front door wouldn't let her in because he thought she looked too young. She had a fake ID. So when he got me, he says, listen, he says, she came with her friends. They all came from Rhode Island College, she goes, and this ID looks fake because she looks too young. So I turned around, I asked her. And I had another person working at the club with me, and he went to high school with her. And he says, no, I know her. She's in college. And that's how we kind of met.
No, but the fun story was once I was in the club, he was hot on the trail pursuing me. According to him, what was it that you fell in love with? You said it was love at first sight.
Her thighs. She has beautiful legs.
Well, I was in heels, and then I had a really nice pencil skirt on with a slit going up the back. You know how that goes. Because, you got to try to stay sexy. Well, let me put it to you this way. So the young man that knew me from school, when he told him, he goes, yeah, I know her. That's my girl. But that was just a saying, saying like a friend. He thought that I was his girlfriend. So he was being silly. He was being very flirtatious. And he came up to me. I was close to around the dance floor. And there was a pillar. So I was kind of leaning on it. And I was sipping on some soda. And he goes, what are you drinking? I'm like, I said, I'm just drinking soda. He goes, you're drinking soda? Are you sure it doesn't have some rum in it? And I'm like, sure. It does. Look at, I'm so tipsy. He goes, no, really. I go, here, smell it. There's no rum. And he smelled it. And then he leaned close to me and he goes, let's make your boyfriend jealous. And I'm like, boyfriend? And I'm like, get away from me, you old man. And I pushed him. I go, don't you have work to do? Go do some managing.
Solanchi was just 18 when they met, but she was the kind of young woman who had standards and wasn't afraid to tell it as she saw it. Jose was only 25, but he had already experienced love in a different way than this cute young college student had.
I was previously married, had 2 boys, 2 great boys. I don't know about the wife, but I was young. I was in the Marine Corps. You know how some people just young and dumb? And I don't want to say the other word, but yes. It was one of the hardest things I went through because I was hurting for my kids. But she was the type of person, this is why before you get married, you got to really get to know the person, who the person is, And seriously, right now, I don't blame anybody for living with somebody first before they get married, because you get to know who the person is. When you meet the person, back then, and you get married, it's the biggest mistake you've ever committed in your life. And it's like, I don't believe in, sex before being married, but in a way, you have to get to know your better half, because, and you got to know if he or she's going to be there with you through thick and thin.
After that night at the club, Jose couldn't get Solanchi out of his head. So he did what anybody would do in the early 1980s without a cell phone. He showed up to Rhode Island College a week later and asked around until he found her.
So he was just walking around and was asking people, hey, do you know Solanchi? He found somebody that knew me. It just so happened that I lived in the dorm that was right above security of public safety. And I was in an old girls dormitory. To get to our dormitory, the security guard, had to buzz you in, but they call up to the suite and ask for whoever they're trying to visit. And they're like, you have some visitors down here. I'm like, visitors? Who are they? And because he first said John Zayas, I'm like, oh yeah, John. Yeah, sure. He goes, oh, he also has a friend with him. But I didn't think about it. I'm like, it's Johnny, whatever. So I let them up. And then when I see him, and I'm like, what are you doing here? He goes, I wanted to take you out to eat. And I figure if I come with Johnny, you would go. I'm like, okay, first of all, I can't go to lunch right now because I got a class in like 45 minutes. And second of all, if you want to take me out to eat and Johnny's not around, you're going to have to take all my sweet mates. And there was 5 of them.
That rule about her never being able to go on a date alone came from her strict Dominican parents. It was a rule that her high school boyfriend wasn't so much a fan of.
Prior to him, I did date somebody my senior year. I told him, I said, I'm not going to be skipping class. And if you want to continue to date me, you have to come and meet my parents. He was good. He came, met my parents, because they didn't speak English. I had to translate. Told him that if he wants to take me out, it's going to have to be with somebody. So I always had to go out with my sister or my cousin. I could never go out alone. He said, oh, okay. And then that didn't last long because, he only wanted the candy and he didn't get the candy, so he left.
Was it worth the trouble? What was it about her that made you jump through all these hoops just to be with her?
There was something about her when I met her. It was just something that inside said, I can't explain it. I just fell in love with her the first day.
So back in those days, it was beepers. So he gave me his beeper and he goes,
oh, wow.
He goes, you hit 1 if it's a yes, and you hit 2 if it's a no.
Then they all show up, so I take them to the restaurant that I used to go, which is Wrestler's Rib House. There used to be a table set up just for us. We had a special crowd, so they would give us the table, and then
because he knew the owner.
I still remember that Dad took her to a steak restaurant. It was a great restaurant, my friend's restaurant.
On a double date because we couldn't go home.
And she orders her a hamburger, and he looked at me like, "Is she crazy?" I said, "Please, just get her a hamburger." He gets a prime rib and grinds it and makes her a hamburger. So he gives her the hamburger, comes back, she takes a bite. It's rare inside. So she says, I don't want this. So I said, hey, can you just cook it again so they make her a second one? And she said, no, it's still got pink inside. I said, can you just burn it for me, please? So that was the most expensive hamburger. It was funny when you think about it. Are you serious? It's prime rib.
I can only imagine what the bills must have looked like for these meals, or the look on the restaurant staff face when one guy showed up on a date with 6 women. Oh boy. And this went on for weeks. Jose was determined to see Solanchi by any means, so he was not going to let something like a little school break stop him.
He says, well, I want to be able to take you out, not just when you're in school, because, Christmas was coming up. I go, well, listen, I'm going to tell you straight now. My parents are very strict. So you're going to have to go meet my parents if you can date me. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to tell you, even if they say yes, we can never be alone.
And he didn't care.
Didn't care. And that's one thing that that's what I also felt like, wow, he's different because, like I told you, the previous guy that I dated.
I'll be honest with you, I was like a male prostitute. I was by myself. So I was having dessert everywhere I wanted to have dessert. And then I said, you know what? It's just when I seen her, I said, wow.
And I didn't give up the dessert.
I just had a feeling inside she's the right one, and then I just took my time.
Jose agreed, and he kept courting by the rules of her parents, something that obviously was really refreshing to Solanchi to meet someone who treated not only her with respect, but also her family. It was a feeling that to this day he says he can't explain even after 36 years of marriage. And things kept getting better from there. Soon, Jose decided it was time for Solanchi to meet his sons.
And then he also was upfront and told me, like, hey, I just want to let you know, I was previously married. I do have two boys. At the time they were 3 and 4. And then he showed me pictures. I'm like, oh, how cute, how adorable. He goes, would you like to meet them? So he picked them up from school on a Friday, and he called me and he said, hey, I'm coming over. I want you to meet the boys. Can't wait to meet you. He brought them over, and Christopher was so freaking cute. He goes, Daddy, she's so pretty and she got big boobies.
Oh gosh.
So
And
yeah.
they loved her too.
Oh, and they loved me immediately. They're like, and I don't know about immediately, but they, every time I spent when he wanted to see me on the weekend, and he had them on the weekends, and whatever we did, the boys with us.
Yeah.
And that's one big reason why my mother didn't want me to marry him. My mother was like, when she first met him, she was very reluctant. She's like, he's so much older than you. He's already been married. He has kids. And she would say, he's probably going to get tired of you. And, he wants you to, give up the goodies, because that's what Latina mothers always used to say. And then she goes, and if he has kids, you not only have to deal with the kids, you also have to deal with the ex.
Her mother did have a point. It can be really difficult when you're starting a new relationship with someone to navigate the dynamics that come with an ex-spouse. And this one, well, she lived up to every mean-spirited and hateful stereotype there is. Just listen to some of the examples.
When I first met them, it was like just an instant love. I'm like, oh my God, they're so adorable. They were well behaved. They wouldn't try to act out, even though they were instructed to act out, but they would, again, gotta love freaking Christopher. One day when we picked him up and we were driving home, he's like, Solanchi, I want to let you know that I really like you. I go, oh, thanks, Christopher. I like you too. He goes, my mommy wants me to not like you, but I told her she can't tell me who to like. She told me to pull your hair and call you salami. Jose Jr. goes, Christopher, stop tattling our mom. He goes, no, because I like her. He goes, I like her too, but you don't see me telling her what mom tells us.
And it's just sad because she doesn't realize that we get old, and we're going to be by ourselves. And the sad thing about it is she still hasn't realized it. Like I say, it's her loss. She's the one that lost. Mm-hmm. My kids are doing great. The boys are doing exceptionally well. Till this day, she didn't even get along with her grandkids.
What made you want to get married again?
After so long, it's just I had a feeling inside like, you know what, something's got to happen. So I just took a shot with the gut feeling that I had, and kind of worked out. Plus, the other thing was she loved my kids, and my kids loved her.
Our story is very quick because, like I said, we met in October. He asked me to be his girlfriend by November. And then shortly after, in March 24th to be exact, he showed up at my dorm room with my aunt. And I'm like, oh, dear, what are you doing here with him? She was in on it. She goes, oh, I wanted to come visit you. And he offered to bring me here because I've never visited you on campus and everything. She was my aunt from the Dominican Republic, and she was visiting. So long story short, I'm talking to my aunt, and next thing you know, I turn around and he's on his knees with the ring. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I'm like, are you sure about that? He goes, yes, I'm very sure. So I said yes. And then that's when I finally went with him. And lo and behold, ooh.
Solanchi finally met the ex-wife. It was on one of the days he had the boys, and he needed to drop them off at their mother's. I'm really lucky that in my family, though there is a similar kind of situation with my grandparents, by the time my generation came around, any confusion or animosity was long covered by love. So much so that I never really suspected any fractured origins or anything of the sort until I was told about it. But that's what love can do. It can redefine our relationships to one another and it can heal them. Solanchi was adamant that no matter what nonsense the boys were being fed, they were always to honor their mother.
I always told the boys, she is your mom. You respect her. She should always come first for you, okay? I never want to take your mother's place. I would never tell anyone they were my stepchildren. I would make myself older when people say, oh, you look old enough to have a kid, that's 10 years old or whatever age they were at. I go, yeah, I just look good for my age. It's just, I guess, the Latin genes.
Jose, can you tell me about asking her strict parents to get married?
I sat down with them and I told them that I wanted to get engaged. And they were kind of proud.
My father loved you.
Her mother hated me. Her mother said that, that I was too old. She didn't approve it, but her father, I sat down with him, I spoke to him. He says, listen, as long as you don't lay a hand on her and you love her, that's all I care about. And now I'm my mother-in-law's favorite son.
He defends him more than me when we're arguing.
So I've earned her love, her respect, because of the way I treated her daughter, but not just her daughter, the way I treat her, the way I treat my sisters and my mother, and she sees that.
That was one of the things when I first met his family, and I saw how much love he had for his parents, especially his mom, because he's like, I have to visit my mom every Sunday. If we're gonna spend some time, you're gonna spend time with my mom and dad and my family. I just love that relationship he had with his mom because, I always say if he's good to his mom, then he's gonna be good to me.
Sadly, a few weeks after this interview, Jose's mother did pass away, and it's something that was really hard for the family. So I'd like to dedicate this episode to Abuela. You're loved, and we're grateful for the legacy that you've left. After the break, there's a wedding to plan. One that almost ended in divorce the same night. We'll be right back with more of The Love Department.
Met in October, got engaged in March, and we got married by August.
Right. Now you have a wedding to plan. How did that go down?
That had nothing to do with that.
That would be me.
Solanchi is amazing at planning events, so her wedding was certainly planned to go off without a hitch. But with a limited budget, they had to be creative about how to make that dream wedding a reality. They got a reception hall location at The Hill, a Rhode Island country club where Jose knew somebody who made it happen. And then they ran into a roadblock. Where to do the ceremony?
I'm Mormon and he's Catholic. I was in an active Mormon at the time. In the Mormon church, you both have to be Mormon. I said, okay, so I guess we'll get married in a Catholic church. So I did go to Catholic church before I even did my first communion and all that stuff. And I still knew the priest. So I went over and talked to him and he was fine with doing it. Of course, he asked questions like, oh, how long have you been together? And he goes, and when do you want to get married? And we're like, we already have the reception hall for August 23rd. He goes, wow, that's pretty fast. So you definitely need to go to couples class.
Did you learn anything interesting or useful?
Guess what? 6 couples in that class. Guess who's the only one married now? Guess him and I.
That's amazing.
I know. I'm still trying to figure it out.
The wedding day started and ended with more dramatics. The couple joke that in their 36 years of marriage, there's only been one time they actually considered splitting up. And it was the night of the wedding. But first, this novia had to get herself a dress.
The day of the wedding comes.
Oh my goodness. He thought I was standing him up.
Because they forgot to give her.
Okay, so here's the problem. So the wedding's on a Sunday. So my last dress fitting was Thursday. I went there, tried it on. Everything was great. Because, when you go for your last dress fitting, you got to bring everything, your shoes, your bra. Right. So I had kind of like a princess the big poofy thing. So what's it called? The thing you put on the knee, the hoop thing. So I had all that. They put everything of mine that I brought with me in the bag that I brought it. I had to go to the bathroom. I said, can you hold this behind the counter while I go to the bathroom? Long story short, go to the bathroom. They give me my dress. I haul ass out of there because I have to meet with the florist. And I left my bag there. So the morning of our wedding, they never called me. I was looking everywhere in my house. And then we had moved a lot of my stuff to our new apartment. Calling him and saying, can you go to the apartment and see if there's the bag with all this, that? And he called me and he was like, I don't see anything. Where would it be? He goes, I've checked the closet. I even checked under the bed. I'm like, where's something under the bed? He kept calling. He goes, are you coming? Are you coming? You're already a half hour late. I go, I'm on my way. Now that we figured out that I'm going to just have to go with what it is. He goes, you're not going to stand me up, are you? And my brothers were teasing him. He goes, yo, she's not going to show. She's not going to show. She got cold feet. She finally realized it just was too fast for you guys to get married. And then Hector, hey, you still got a chance. You want me to go buy you a ticket? You could just leave. Anyway, but long story short, I got married with my mother's shoes that were half size smaller. They were too tight. They were beige instead of white.
No.
Thank God I was a señorita. And I had perky titas. Because I got married with no bra. And now my beautiful hoop.
At any point in your mind, though, Pops, were you going to leave?
No.
If I didn't show up within the next 15 minutes, he was going to drive to my mother's house and go pick me up himself. He wasn't going to wait for the limo to bring me.
And as their wedding was coming to a close, there was one more special memory from the night.
Did you guys ever have a moment where you were like, we might need to walk away from each other?
First day we got married.
Yes, believe it or not.
He was furious because they spilled champagne or beer over me.
So this is what happened. Again, me being anal. I'm like, that is a rented tux. Your friends just dumped champagne all over it. And I'm like,
it was a rented tux. You turn it in, that's it.
And like, why are you over there with your book? Because we were getting ready to do our last dance. I go, I'm trying to get you to do our last dance. And you're over there getting drunk with your boys. And then he goes, fine, let's go. So we had a change. And he goes, I'll drop you off at the apartment. I go, no, you're not. You're coming in the house. You're not going nowhere. So he was pissed. We were both pissed. Then when I get home, he goes, I'm going to go take a bath. Because he says he was taking a bath and he was going to get dressed and leave. So I went into the bedroom and I'm like, and I'm seeing all these gifts. And I'm like, Solanchi, really, is it that serious that they spill champagne on him? You're going to just throw away your marriage and it hasn't even begun because of champagne. How am I going to tell people I just got married? I'm already getting divorced. I go, this can't happen.
And so this new bride got creative in order to keep her man and her marriage intact. Thankfully, she noticed among the gifts a little honeymoon night helper from her sister.
So I opened the box and I'm like, holy shit, this is sexy. I go, I'm going to put this on and go to the bathroom to brush my teeth.
She was wearing this gorgeous negligee.
So I'm like, there's no effing way he's leaving here.
And he didn't leave, did he?
No, I'm still here.
I walk in and this is him in the tub. He's like, look at me over now. He goes, what are you wearing? I go, oh, it's a gift from Jackie.
I said, oh shit, we're in trouble. First day we had that. Ever since that was it.
That's it.
I have a feeling I know how you solve your arguments.
Never go to bed mad.
Just go to bed.
Just go to bed.
Go to bed.
And then let nature take its course.
We took the conversation there. 3 letters. S-E-X. And I, for one, am so refreshed by how much joy it still brings them to talk about it after 36 years.
You guys have always been very open about your sex life.
Oh, yes, we are. Too open.
Oh, yeah. I started off the conversation. Oh, my God. I got lucky this morning.
Almost. What happened?
She wouldn't let me.
No. I didn't even know he was trying. I was sleeping. He goes, I better not wake her. She gonna get mad. Because you know me, I'm a grouch in the morning.
I'm a 4 o'clock person. The 3 o'clock in the morning is like, yeah, baby, let's get it on.
No, he didn't even try because I didn't even.
I did try. Trust me. I was grinding, and you were like, hell no.
I was sleeping.
You started snoring. I said, this me just got up. I went and did a 2.5 mile walk. My libido was active, but she was not.
Where does that come from? Because you both have like the biggest smiles on your face when you talk about it.
I have no idea where the hell that comes from.
for us, for the Latinos, like sex was a taboo. Like you can't have
talk about it.
sex
Don't talk about sex.
until you get
I
married.
am more like, I had sex this morning. You crazy? Pops, I had an argument with my wife. You had an argument? I was getting laid, dude. You have no idea. I'd rather get laid than fight.
That's one other thing that we appreciate about each other is that before we got married, we always said we should never go to bed.
Don't go to bed angry.
Don't go to bed angry.
Yeah, don't go to
Whatever
bed.
is going on, we got to resolve it before we go to bed.
Yeah.
And then no holding sex off because you're mad at me.
Yeah. And we've been like this, 36 years. Rough sex, make it hurt.
That's his favorite song. And you know what my favorite song is, right?
I'm doing it and
doing it well by LL.
Oh my Lord, don't record this, please. Don't let nobody hear this conversation. Are we supposed to be talking about this here?
No. I'm so glad you're telling me this is so
Delete this.
And their openness doesn't stop with sex. It carries through to every part of their lives together. It's immediate, it's honest, and it's pretty radical. Growing up, I really never saw my parents argue or disagree, so it was a shock to me to find out that my best friend's parents held nothing back and still remained very much in love. And it's even in their relationship with their kids.
Like I said, I felt it immediately when I came into your family and just the openness with which you share how you feel and how you think. How is it that you're able to be so radically honest with each other?
I don't know. It just comes natural.
It's like the thing is that
Yeah.
if you don't talk and you're not honest with each other, we wouldn't have a marriage. We wouldn't have, a relationship.
And I just feel there shouldn't be a topic that we cannot talk about.
Yeah. Like we talk about everything. Like if something's happening, we have a discussion about it.
Things change, generations change. I know, back when, back when I was younger, yes, it was a big thing to be a virgin before you got married and stuff. But, things change. And it's true, like what he said, that there were so many people just getting married without having that connection or actually having an opportunity to live with one another and get used to one another's, little quirks. Because that's another thing we argued about at the beginning of our marriage. I'm anal. I'm very clean. Everything has to be in a certain place. If my ketchup goes here, I want you to put it back there. My table, my dining room table, I want it to always be clear of clutter, nothing.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Clutter.
Yep. But I clean the dishes. I wash clothes. I clean the house.
You have other chores and things that you do. Yeah. And we've had this conversation, especially recently, where it's like, I'm extremely, extremely neat and I tend to not leave things places, and he will leave things, but he's not being messy. And I have to reassure him. I'm like, it's not that I think you're messy. It's just that it's not the way that I'm used to.
I used to get a lot of anxiety and and it would cause arguments with us. And I'm like, this is not healthy.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to just take a deep breath and just clean it up again. Because he saw that I was doing that. He's like, it's not fair to her. That's my mess. I shouldn't be causing her to that. Instead of coming home and just relaxing, she's coming home and cleaning. So I told him, so I compromised with him. I said, okay, yeah, I know you make a mess in the kitchen because you love to cook. So I'll compromise. You cook, I'll clean. But then he's been a little better now that he's been cleaning up after himself.
Just a little. When I tell you we talk about everything, it's like I don't hide anything. Especially money issues.
Right. No, and back to even like you said that, we're so open, and even our kids like TMI. Like this goes back to that whole, taboo. And we tell our children, it's like, you shouldn't be ashamed to show how much you love one another.
Yeah. So I have this relationship with my kids that they can open up to me. So listen, I'm in trouble. I need your help right now.
Yeah. And I think it's because you guys set that precedent of having that with each other. They saw you openly throughout the course of your many-year relationship, talking to each other and settling things or saying, I'm not okay, I need your help. Seeing you work as a team, I think, enabled them to then be able to come to you in this way and be open and share what's really going on with them. Speaking of your kids, do you guys get involved in their relationship at all?
No.
If they ask for advice, let it out.
They vent.
We let them vent. We let them vent. And then then we usually just say, what do you think you should do? What do you want to do? Are you ready to walk away from this marriage, or do you want to work on it?
Yeah.
It's always the kids. I go, but listen, remember, you guys went through this. You guys were part of a divorce. I don't care what. And remember, your mother used to try to feed you all this stuff. She could feed those girls all the stuff she wants, but eventually, because just like you eventually saw that she was in the wrong, and that that I truly loved you and you were my child. And I would never change that for nothing in the world. If I had to go back, I would do it again because I love you. But you need to make this decision for yourself. But you will find someone who truly is who you need to be with. And that person, you'll know is the right person by how she accepts your daughters.
You know, we have opportunities to not necessarily right the wrongs that our parents did, but we have this chance to kind of live through the cycles. And now that you're on the other side of it, you have the wisdom to say, listen, you can get a divorce and it be okay. And you find somebody else, even with kids. The kids will turn out fine. You know, they'll get good jobs. They'll find love themselves. You know, there's no wrong answer.
Jose and Solanchi have 3 kids, 2 sons from his previous marriage and 1 daughter together. This blended family has done an exceptional job at coming together, and they continue to grow to this day. One of the things that brought the family together was when Jose decided to join the Mormon faith. You can tell just by meeting him how generous and accepting he is, but he didn't always love the Mormons.
What happened was, at first I didn't like the Mormons. I didn't like the elders. I started going to church. I said, let me go check the church out. So I started going to church.
Wow.
And I was just going to church for 2 years. I love helping people. I've always helped people because that's what my mother taught me. Those who have a lot give a lot. Those who have a little give a little. And those who don't have anything, you help out, you give. And I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but I'll let you know later.
Sounds good.
That he's very giving and caring. Like he's always concerned about others. He loves to do service. You do so much for everyone. And you do it so, what's the word I'm looking for?
Selflessly or easily.
Yes, selflessly. Like he doesn't care, and he's humble about it. Like he doesn't go around saying, oh yeah, I helped Nicole with this. Everything he does it on the DL. Mm-hmm. Nobody needs, he goes, the only one that needs to know is me and Heavenly Father and me, because I happen to know.
It's like me, for example, before I came here, Cuba ended up getting bed bugs. So he said he did. He's one of my best friend. He threw his bed out, his bedroom set. So I ran out, bought him a bed and a mattress and everything. So I told her, I said, honey, I went out and bought him, So she knows. It's like some people say, like, are you crazy? You wasted that money? So instead she said, okay, that's good because he needs a place. And I said, honey, do you have extra blankets to give to him?
I've always been really interested in like the whole idea of like the eternal marriages in the Mormon church. Can you explain like how that works and about that ceremony you guys had a few years ago?
So we believe in you have a civil wedding, which we had already done by being married in the Catholic Church. So we get sealed in the temple for time and all eternity. So we don't believe in till death do you part. We believe that he is my eternal companion and we are always going to be together. So it's not like a ceremony. There's a sealing room in the temple and only members can go into the sealing room, or worthy members, because you have to have a temple recommend. We didn't get sealed because it was a process for him to become a member because he owned a liquor establishment. And we had 10 missionaries return to be part of our sealing. That was so special. And the only sad thing was that my children couldn't be there. So
must have been really hard because your kids are everything to you, and particularly Jerica, because she's, the child from the both of you.
And that's actually what made Jerica, become active again in the church. Mm-hmm. It killed her not being able to be in the room with us and be part of that special moment.
And so for all eternity,
stuck
together.
It was so funny because when we're driving up there, he turns around. He goes, are you sure you want to do this? I go, are you sure you want to be stuck with me for all eternity? And he goes, Wouldn't have it any other way. You're my yin to my yang.
Aw.
When I interviewed them, the couple were in the Dominican Republic, a place they both share their ancestry and lots of memory for their family. As they reflect on what the last almost 4 decades have meant to them, Jose reminded me that special moments are just that, moments.
I think, you know what? It's like today, we're at the beach. To me, it's a special moment. Every time we spend time together, it's a special moment because we don't know when tomorrow's going to come. Especially, I've been around a lot of people where you're here today and then tomorrow is so sad because you're not here. And some of us don't appreciate what we have in front of us. You know, it's like, it's always good to say goodnight, I love you, give you a hug, say a prayer, you know, and just turn around in case you didn't tell it, say it to her, say, you know what, I love you. Because just because you're thinking it, and she knows every day you say you love you, doesn't mean anything until you say it. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, we're guaranteed today. You know, whisper in your ear, say, you know what, you mean the world to me. You know, sometimes I'll write a note, I'll tell her how much she means to me. And or a text that same day, I'll say, I love you. And she texts me back, I love you more constantly. She always has to add on more than what it's like, you're not satisfied with I love you too? You know, well, I love you more. I'm like, okay.
A real happy moment for me was when we finally could come here to the Dominican Republic as a family with the boys.
Yep.
Because the boys never had come to the Dominican Republic. We always came with Jerica. We couldn't bring the boys because they had to get permission from their mom. They had to get their passport. You know, it was a constant struggle with her. And then finally, we were able to do that with them. And I think that was a very special moment for us, for them to finally, you know, visit their fathers. They referred to me as their mom, homeland, and they had a blast.
They did.
As we came to the end of our time together, it was clear to me that there was no end to their love for each other. Maybe it is possible that love continues through all eternity and beyond, and maybe even beyond that. It certainly sounds like you can find it in a nightclub. So I asked them a few final questions about what love has taught them and what they love about each other.
She loves me.
I put up with him.
She puts up with me. She does. You know, that's why it's like every day in the morning I give thank to God that, to the Lord, that she's with me. And she's my better half.
36, almost 37 years. Why are you the only one in that group of couples counseling that's still together?
Communication.
Sex.
In that. Some good sex.
No.
I think being able to voice to each other what's bothering us, even though we know it might hurt the other to hear some things. I go, but you need to know that this is how I'm feeling. And then when you tell them, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I didn't know that's how you felt. So it's just, you know, to be open. And I just think that's the most important thing, because when you bottle things up, it just grows and grows and it just causes for a lot of unsolved issues and anger. And sometimes that could be a result of, you know, people just blow up one moment and then that's the end of it. And that's why you end up just, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm leaving you.
The thing is with a marriage is learn to leave the past behind.
Yes.
Don't bring the past back constantly. A lot of people always bring the past back. And it's like they never stop. You know, after you move forward, and then you always bring whatever happened in the past back. And that's one of the biggest issues that we notice with people. They don't know how to let go. Whatever, like Rafiki said from The Lion King, I love the monkey. He said, doesn't matter, it's in the past. Whatever just happened now, a second ago, don't bring it back.
Yeah.
Just you're not going to solve anything by bringing it back. You only kind of create a bigger mess.
If this were, say, for whatever reason, tomorrow you can't talk anymore or one of you isn't here, what would you want the other person to know?
What I would want her to know is that, you know, that I loved her. While you're here today, always appreciate what you have.
And I just want to tell him that, besides that, I love him. Thank you for the opportunity to be a mother to 3 wonderful children. They mean the world to me, and my grandkids too, because I would have never had that opportunity if I had not met him and married him.
I think that's beautiful.
You've been listening to The Love Department, hosted by Nick Lockhart. The Love Department is produced in Brooklyn, New York. A special thank you to Solanchi and Jose for allowing us to interview them for today's episode. Special thanks to producer Karen Minto and sound engineer Brees Seeley. Our theme song is Love by Adam Baldich. Please stay in touch with us. You can reach out to the show on the Heartline by visiting our website, www.love-department.com. For exclusive written content, subscribe to our Substack for just $5 a month. If you enjoyed our sex talk, you might enjoy my article about the time I tried to write an erotic novel. Before you go, leave us a review and subscribe to this podcast. Okay, you know the deal. Hand to heart for the count. I wish you love.